Tonight, I want to share a special submission with you. That evening, she sat across from us, her hand on her belly, and said, "I'm pregnant. I plan to keep it." I looked at her like I was looking at a stranger, not because she had done something wrong, but because she is still a child. Her school bag still hangs by the door. Her dance shoes are still scattered in the car, and the stuffed animals in her room haven't been put away. She is only 15. She won't turn 16 until May. And she says she's going to be a mother. She said it wasn't even her boyfriend, just a boy she talked to. I fell silent. My husband fell silent too. I am not a conservative mother. Quite the opposite. I have always spoken openly with my 2 daughters about sex, about bodies, about protection. I have told them countless times, if you are going to be sexually active, you can come to me, and I will provide you with contraception, no judgment, no shame. I thought I had paved the way. I thought they would walk that path. But at that moment, sitting across from me, there was a stubbornness in her eyes that I had never seen before. "How are you going to raise this child?" I asked. "I can do it." "How can you? You don't have a job. You're still in high school. You can't even drive." "I will grow up." "You will grow up," I repeated, my voice dry. "But a child won't wait for you to grow up." Over the next week, I tried almost everything I could think of. I made her watch Teen Mom, those girls on screen breaking down, crying, getting crushed by life. I did the math for her. Diapers, formula, daycare, health insurance, college fund from birth to 18. At least several $100,000. I printed out those numbers page by page and placed them on her desk. She watched. She listened. She said, "I know it's hard." "And you still insist?" "Yeah." When she said that word, her voice was soft, but it was like a nail. What I didn't tell her was that what I was really afraid of wasn't her youth. It was the reason she wasn't saying out loud. She is the kind of child has wanted to be loved since she was little. Not because we didn't give enough, but because she always felt like it was just a little short. That boy, the one who wouldn't even call himself her boyfriend, maybe he just gave her a moment of attention. And she thought that was the whole world. And now, she might be quietly telling herself, with a child, he won't leave. I didn't want to shatter that illusion in front of her. But I knew that illusion was the real trap. That same evening, I made a decision. I told myself, I will not raise another child. It wasn't out of spite. It wasn't that I don't love her. It was because I knew clearly and completely that if I gave in this time, I wouldn't just lose my retirement savings and free time, I would lose myself. I told myself from a young age that I would only have 2 children, 2. That was my boundary. I waited more than a decade for them to grow up, for the home to no longer need baby gates, safety locks, corner bumpers. I cleared out my younger daughter's old room, repainted the walls white, and prepared to turn it into my art studio. Painting was something I had waited half my life for. She once even said with a laugh, "Mom, that room hasn't been mine for a long time." Now she looked at that empty room and said, "Maybe it could be turned into a nursery." I said, "No." She was stunned. "That is not a nursery," I said. "That is my art studio." I had a serious conversation with her. Not as an angry mother, but as a woman also defending her own life. If you decide to keep this child, I will not force you to have an abortion or pressure you to give the baby up for adoption. This is your body, your choice, and I respect that. But you must also respect my choice. I don't want to raise another child, including yours. I will not wake up at night to feed the baby. I will not pay for baby supplies. I will not give up my retirement plans to help you with childcare. You can live here, because legally I have to take care of you, but the baby cannot live here. She cried. How can you do this? She asked. Because I have already raised two children, I said. And life should not have only the role of mother. I know these words sound harsh to many people. Maybe some of you are thinking, but that's your own grandchild. How can you refuse? How can you prioritize your art studio, your sleep, your money over your family's needs? I understand this questioning. I truly do. But I also want you to consider this. If I gave up everything to help her raise this child, what would I become in 5 or 10 years? Would I wake up at 4 in the morning to a baby's cry, filled with resentment? Would I watch my art studio turn back into a nursery and let that disappointment seep, bit by bit, into my relationship with my daughter? Would that kind of love be healthy? I have seen too many families, especially in our society, where helping turns into replacing. The daughter has a child, and the mother becomes a second mother. The daughter continues with school, continues socializing, continues being young, while the mother, at 50, starts over with diaper changes, soothing, and night feeds. No one asks her if she wants this. It's as if once you become a mother, you lose the right to say no forever. I don't want that. I love my daughter. But I cannot destroy myself in order to love her. That's where the story pauses, and I want to take a moment to talk with you. Have you ever had a moment like this where someone you love makes a decision you completely disagree with, and you have to choose between supporting them and protecting yourself? What did you choose? Maybe you, like me, have been called cold-hearted. Maybe you, too, have doubted yourself, wondering if you aren't loving enough, good enough, selfless enough. But I have slowly come to understand something. True love is not setting yourself on fire to light someone else's way. True love has boundaries. It is I love you, but I also have my own life. It is I will walk with you through the hardest roads, but I won't walk them for you. My daughter is still angry with me. She feels abandoned. I know she might not forgive me for a long time. But I also know that sooner or later, she will understand what she is about to face is not just a child, but an entire life. And she must carry it herself. Because if she cannot carry it, then this child will become someone else's burden. First mine, then society's, and finally the child's own. I am not punishing her. I am showing her the truth. That truth is, no one will grow up for you, and I am also showing myself another truth. A mother is not an eternal sanctuary. A mother is a person. A person with her own dreams, her own time, her own art studio. That art studio, I will not give up for anyone. Not because I am cold, but because I have finally learned to love myself. That's the story for tonight. I want to leave you with one final question. Between being a good mother and being a person, do we really have to choose only one? Perhaps the answer is not in the choice, but in the boundary. Second story. I will never forget that afternoon. The sun was beautiful. She sat at the kitchen table, her fingers wrapped around a water glass, turning it around and around. I thought she was going to tell me she failed an exam or had a fight with a classmate. But the words she said were like a pebble thrown into the stillness of my life. Mom, I was pregnant. I've already had the procedure. I stood there, still holding the glass I had just washed. Water dripped down my fingers. 1 drop, 2 drops, like some kind of countdown. I asked her, who was it? She looked at me, and her eyes didn't have the fear or vulnerability I thought I'd see. She said, that doesn't matter. And it's none of your business. Then she turned, went upstairs, and closed the door. That door has been closed for a week now. I admit, I panicked. I took her phone, searched it, found nothing. I told her she couldn't go out, couldn't see friends, couldn't go anywhere except school. I said it was grounding. I told myself it was for her own good, to protect her. But as I said these things, she just leaned back against her headboard, hugged her knees, and looked at me without a word. That look wasn't that of a child who had done something wrong. It was more like that of an adult who had already made a choice she had long since stopped living by my rules. That scared me even more. A week passed. Her anger didn't fade, and my anxiety didn't lessen. The air in the house grew heavy. Every meal felt like completing a chore. She stopped yelling at me, which somehow made it worse. She wouldn't even bother to yell anymore. Let me pause for a minute and let you, the listener of this story, pause for a minute too. If you were me, what would you do? And if you were this daughter, what would you be thinking? I spent an entire night sitting outside her bedroom door, thinking. The floor was cold, but it was warmer than the distance between us. I realized something. What I was truly angry about wasn't that she wouldn't tell me who the boy was. What I was angry about was that she had experienced something so significant somewhere I didn't know, and in that experience, I had no place. When she was in pain, she didn't come to me. When she was scared, she didn't come to me. When she made that decision, she didn't come to me. I was angry at my own absence, but was her silence telling me something else too? Maybe in her eyes, I had never been the person she could share everything with. Maybe in certain moments in the past, my reactions had taught her to stay quiet. Maybe it's none of your business wasn't an insult, it was a conclusion she had taken a long time to dare say to my face. In psychology, there's a concept called the psychological wall. Adolescents instinctively build this wall not to hurt their parents, but to figure out who they are. When she says, "It's none of your business," she isn't pushing me away, she is telling me, there is a territory here, and it's called myself, and my grounding, my confiscating her phone. Cutting off her social connections, that wasn't protection, that was occupation. I locked her at home, but pushed her even farther away. Now she isn't just keeping a secret. She is defending her dignity. If I keep pushing, she will only bury that name deeper and lock her heart tighter. I began to wonder, was I really chasing the question, who is he? Because I wanted the truth, or was it because as long as I kept chasing that question, I could temporarily avoid another, harder question? What did my daughter go through? When she went to the hospital alone, was she scared? When she lay down in that cold room, did she cry? When she came home and pretended nothing had happened, how did she develop those acting skills? Those questions hurt too much. So I chose to chase after a name, as if knowing the name would provide all the answers. But the truth is, who that boy was is not the core of this story. The core of this story is a girl bore something alone that she should never have had to bear alone, and her mother, when she needed understanding the most, gave her a lock. Tonight's story is not about a rebellious daughter and an anxious mother. Tonight's story is about how, when love turns into control, we push the very people we most want to protect farther away than anyone else. Do you have a secret you have never told your parents? Do you have a truth you have never dared to tell your child? The hardest lesson of love is not giving, but stepping back. It is, when the other person says it's none of your business, to hold back the hurt and tell yourself, she isn't rejecting me, she is growing up. And that, precisely, is what I should be supporting her in the most. Good night. May the door between you and those you care about be open. These stories are adapted from real submissions with personal information anonymized.